So to know that this man who mistreated me, disrespected me, um, basically destroyed my self-worth over the years, just immediately found somebody, and that was really hard. But then then I kind of came to terms with it. Okay, this is what it is. If, I'm going to move on with my life. He's moving on with his life. I don't want to be with him anyway. I don't want to be with him. But then he introduced her to my kids. And that just ripped my heart out all over again.
Welcome to the Heavy Pages podcast, a guiding light for women facing the paralyzing challenges of an unwanted separation. If you're feeling frozen by the weight of heartbreak or the uncertainty of a crumbling relationship, you're not alone. I'm Josie, your host, and a separation survival specialist, because I've been where you are, overwhelmed, emotionally stuck, and unsure of what lies ahead. But here's the truth: healing and empowerment are within your reach. Together, we'll shatter the chains of paralysis, embrace this journey, and pave the way to your new future. So it's time to step forward, find your strength, and rewrite your story. Because the pages of life can be heavy, but you don't have to turn them alone. Now, before we start today's episode, please consider taking a moment to click that subscribe button. And with that, here we go. Hello, and a warm welcome to today's chapter checkup session, where we will be hearing from another courageous woman as she shares her transformative journey from devastated to divorce. And we'll be using the 5 chapters of my program as the guide. If you're curious about these chapters and how they align with your personal journey, don't forget to visit heavypagespodcast.com for your free chapter checklist. And with that, here's today's interview. Okay, hello, welcome, Jessica. Thank you for spending some time with us today.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you being willing to come on and share a little about your journey. So, to get started, you have children?
Yes. Two girls, 7 and 10.
7 and 10, okay. And tell me just a little bit about you.
I am in my 40s. I am a teacher. I was married for 12 years and have been divorced for about 2 years. If you want to take it from the day he moved out and the agreement was signed, it's about 2 years.
So let's get a little backstory here. Well, first I will say you did take a listen to the series on my podcast,
Yes.
From Devastated to Divorce, and you felt like you can relate to some of the chapters in that guide?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so we will start with asking, how did you meet your ex-husband?
At a bar, but he didn't just pick me up at a bar. It was through mutual friends. But we were out. We were out for my birthday when I met him.
And how long did you date?
We dated for a year and a half, and he proposed. And then we had about a year and a half engagement, and then we got married. So it was pretty quick.
Okay. And you just said that you were married 12 years before divorce.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. How did you feel before the divorce? Did you feel like in our chapter 1, were you blissfully unaware, or were you subconsciously aware that there, may have been some issues in?
Oh, I was aware. I was very aware. I think he was very aware also that there were problems in our marriage. We tried to fix it. Tried 2 rounds of counseling. And I got to the point where I just couldn't be in the relationship anymore. It was just too hurtful and painful and probably unhealthy for me. So I would say the beginning of my marriage, I was blissfully unaware that there were problems. But the last several years, no.
So whose suggestion was it to get the separation?
I think I finally pulled the trigger, but he had threatened it several times before that.
Okay.
I would say it was more or less a mutual decision that took a long time to be made.
Then we would say that you probably, well, how do you feel? Do you feel that even though it was kind of a mutual decision, did you spend some time in chapter 2, which is, blindsided and devastated?
I think I was blindsided and devastated by how much more difficult he became during the divorce process. Um, I knew it was going to be difficult, but I did not expect the nastiness and the vindictiveness and the it honestly didn't take as long as, I mean, I've heard some horror stories, but it didn't take as long as, many other divorces, but it was really nasty, and it was really devastating, to go from feeling this sense of kind of relief that we had finally made this decision to, oh my gosh, is my life going to be hell from now on out, because this is the way we're going to be acting towards each other, and is it ever going to be an amicable situation, or, you know, am I just going to get screwed and be treated this way for the rest of my life? So that was definitely I think the devastating part.
Right. I had a friend of mine said this quote once, and she might have heard it somewhere, but I remember her saying that you can divorce a bad marriage, but you can't divorce a bad divorce.
Yeah.
So you're like, unfortunately, sometimes after that, it's like, how do I get out of this? I'm already out of this. But
Right.
when you have children, you're,
Yes.
for a long time, you're not exactly out of it.
Yes.
Okay. So do you think that he was that way because because he didn't, I know you said it was mutual, but was he like that maybe because he was unhappy that it happened, or?
I think he was more unhappy with the situation he was going to now be in, which was financially surviving on his own. I don't think he cared that much about not seeing the kids as much. In fact, he's since cut back his parenting time. So I don't think that was upsetting for him. I think the whole starting over and the financial burden of the divorce probably devastated him, to which he blamed me for. He blamed me. He still to this day blames me for being in the situation that he's in. Yet I was willing to go to counseling. I was willing to fight to fix our marriage, and he wasn't. And he
Right.
was the one who was more or less emotionally abusing me. So, I don't think I should be blamed for being in this situation, right? If
Right.
anything, we both caused the situation that is we're in.
Right. And he would need to take some sort of accountability. He can't just put it all
Mm-hmm.
on your shoulders.
Right.
Because nobody's perfect. We all know this. We all acknowledge this, or most of us try to. So yeah, it can't be all one sided for sure.
Right.
And so you are officially divorced.
Yes. It was official. Yeah, in February of 2021, it was official.
And so I think that I asked which of the chapters you related to the most. So yeah, you mentioned that chapter 4, which is "It's Over Now What," and chapter 5. They both seemed like, or chapter 5 now, "Divorced and Beyond," seemed like roller coaster rides to
Yeah.
you. So tell me a little about that.
So the divorce now what? I definitely still feel like I'm in that phase, even though it's been almost, more or less 2 years. Because the now what seems to keep changing. Um, I went from feeling relief to feeling devastated by the whole process to feeling somewhat at peace with it. Like, I'm going to move on. This is, my new life, and I'm going to make the best of it. And there were some other struggles in there with work and the kids and everything, but I felt like I was on a forward path. And then I was just starting to date, and he immediately found somebody, and that changed my whole outlook on things of the now what. Then I had to juggle my kids meeting this woman, and then I found myself having to give up the job I was in to go back to a full-time job because I was working 3 part-time jobs, which I was very happy in, to go back to a full-time job that I didn't really want to do. Not that I'm opposed to working full-time. I work hard, but it just wasn't what I wanted to do, but I needed to. And so it's been a roller coaster of now what? I don't know. I'm still trying to find the now what.
Right.
Am I meant to find someone else? Am I meant to do this job or meant to do something else? And it's been very difficult. And the divorced and beyond, it's like I I hope that someday I will get to a place where I can say I am so much happier because that was the ultimate goal,
Right.
but I'm certainly not there yet.
Tell me from between the separation and divorce, how long has it been? Like when did you separate and
Well, we decided to divorce in July of 2020. So right in the midst of the pandemic, which
right,
was also very challenging.
I'm sure.
Locked in a house together. And then he didn't move out until December. He moved out in December of 2020. That's when we signed the agreement. And then it was finalized in February of 21. So it was less than a year from the day we said divorce to the day it was finalized. It was less than a year. It was pretty quick.
Right.
So it's been over 2 years since we decided to divorce,
Gotcha.
and about two, almost exactly two, since he moved.
So you told me that he started dating. So you were kind of thinking about dating, but then he started dating, and that kind of pushed you back. Maybe
Yeah.
how did that work for you?
So, like in the fall of 2021, I decided, you know what, I'm willing to start dabbling in the idea of dating. I went on a few dating apps in probably October of 21, and I went on a few dates. I met a guy, I dated for a little while, and then it didn't work, so I broke it off, and that's right around the time he went on a dating app. And I only knew this because my sister, oddly, was asking him about his dating life, which was just very bizarre. But I know he started the dating app right around Thanksgiving, and he met this woman in early December, and they've been together a year. So to know that this man who mistreated me, disrespected me, um, basically destroyed my self-worth over the years, just immediately found somebody, and that was really hard.
Right.
But then then I kind of came to terms with it. Okay, this is what it is. If I'm gonna move on with my life, he's moving on with his life. I don't want to be with him anyway. I don't want to be with him.
Right.
But then he introduced her to my kids, and that just ripped my heart out all over again.
Right.
And this is the new reality. Then he went and he cut his parenting time back, which I can't pretend doesn't have something to do with the new girlfriend and wanting to
Of
see her more
course.
on the weekends.
Right.
So it's been a tough pill to swallow, and then after me having several more dating disasters, I just decided to stop for now, at least.
Right. Of course.
It's not serving me any positive good right now. So
Right. Right. Certainly that makes sense. I mean, I do hear some horror stories about, dating now and the dating apps and stuff like
mhm,
that. It's pretty scary out there.
it is.
It's so much harder than it used to be to find
Mhm,
that one person.
mhm.
Um, does he pay his child support?
He does.
Okay. What was supposed to be the visitation? What did he have every other weekend,
So
one night a week?
no, originally, so he also chose to move 40 minutes away, which made sharing weekdays virtually impossible.
Right.
So the agreement was, and he told me very early on, I'm not renting. I can't afford to buy in your area, so I'm moving this distance away. So I said, okay, well, I guess I'm taking weekdays because we wanted them to stay in the school district they're in, especially in the middle of a pandemic. where they really didn't have any social outlet at the time. So we decided I would do Monday through Fridays, and he was going to do 3 weekends a month. 3 weekends a month, and including holidays, school breaks, summer. I think it was something like 24 extra days throughout the year. He cut that back to every other weekend and 15 extra days throughout the year. That includes the summer. So I now have, and he told me it was because he, quote, couldn't get anything done. So here I am. I have the kids Monday through Friday, every other weekend, and I will have them almost the entire summer. And that's
And
the
you're
way.
getting stuff done, aren't you? You're
Oh,
getting stuff
I'm
done.
getting a lot done. I'm getting a lot done. I have no choice. So
Right. Right. That's the difficult part, is when they unfortunately take the choice.
and I know it could be, I know it could always be worse. I know there's dads who don't see their children, who are not involved, who don't pay their child support, who don't pay their alimony, whatever the case may be. But it still hurts me for my children
Of
that
course. It's your
he's
personal journey
right.
situation.
And he cut back his time with them makes me very sad.
And then you can't help but, like you said, it's because of another woman. It's like, your children were here first. These are your children. Date if you want to, but I'm sure that when you were gonna date, it's like, okay, on the weekends I don't have my children,
Right.
I'll do whatever that I want. On the weekends that I have my children, I'm unavailable. That's technically how.
Right. And
you
until
know
you're ready, you're at a point in your relationship where you're serious enough to cohabitate, then I can see intermingling your lives like that.
right,
After a long time, that they're right fit for you and your kids. But he introduced my kids to this woman about 5 months in, and she has been there with them not the entire weekend, but every weekend they're up since then.
right. And how does she treat them? How do they say she does?
They seem okay with it. They say they
Okay.
like her. She has two children similar in age. They say they like them as well. So that my kids have no complaints about it.
Right.
But they're also 7 and 10. So
Of course. Of course. And
as mature as my 10-year-old is, I don't know that she could verbalize, how she really feels about it. So
right. Of course, if they were being really mistreated, they probably, you feel that they would share that
oh
with you.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So,
yes.
but it is unfortunate that if there are children the same age or close to the same age, this would be a nice, if nothing else, if you are going to date her, then bring the kids can hang out together instead of spend more time with her children and not
Right,
with your own children. I
right,
mean,
right.
why?
Which is potentially what is happening now because they live in the same town. I'm sure he's over there during the week and he's not seeing his children.
Right.
And then every other weekend, he's probably with her and her children. And I mean, I don't know what her parenting arrangement is, but
Right. Right. And so the frustration, like you said, it's not that you want him back. It's not that you still have feelings for him. It's the feelings of a mother of, my children are not getting the opportunity to be with their parent, with their other parent. And what's more sad than that is that he is choosing that.
right,
And
right,
then you start thinking, this is the person that I married, and who is this person? And you go down that rabbit hole
right,
sometimes.
right, right.
So you're feeling a little stuck. You're waiting for the now what to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, I totally get that. So I'm just trying to think about what is the best way to move on from this. You're one of your things is that you had to go back to full-time work. You didn't, not the work, but that particular job was not exactly what you wanted, and because of the parenting schedule, because he's so far away, you don't really have a lot of opportunity to look for something that might fit better for you. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it was also a matter of needing healthcare. for me. Not so much the girls; they were on his healthcare policy, but I needed healthcare, and I was trying to make it a better schedule for me and the kids. So I went back to full time teaching, which is not really what I wanted to do. And it's been very stressful and very difficult. And I'm not really in a better financial place because of it. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm feeling very lost and
Right.
like you said, like what is the now what? I don't know. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up because I tried one thing, I couldn't make it work. I'm trying this and I'm trying desperately to make it work, but I don't know that it is.
Right.
So
And do you feel like moving or relocating, since he's not really even paying as much attention as he needs to be, would that help your financial situation in any sort of way?
I don't know. I honestly hadn't really thought about that. I hadn't really thought about that. I don't know how the girls would do with that. I worry about their, they've had a tough journey too. You
Sure.
know, between the coinciding the pandemic with the divorce, I think was a lot for them. And they've both gone through their ups and downs since then as well. So I don't know how they would handle a move,
Right.
having to create a whole new social network.
Right. And I totally get. And from my experience, my son was 8 years old when my ex and I separated, and he's 26 now.
Oh wow.
So yeah, but I talked to him about that time, and honestly, he doesn't remember much of it at all, almost none of it. Unfortunately, we had a nice house, and I asked him about the house, and when he goes, I don't remember any of that. I
Mm,
you know his So I mean, I don't know that he blocked it out. I don't know that maybe they're living in their own bubble of their age, and they're like, we're worried, because I obviously was worried. I was a disaster. I was crying all the time, and I was a bit of a mess, and I was like,
yeah.
you know and those are things that he doesn't really remember, so that's good. That he
That
doesn't
is that
remember.
is encouraging to hear because
Yeah, it's
I definitely worry about that. I worry about I'm a wear my heart on my sleeve kind of person. It's very hard for me to not show my feelings and my emotions. And I do worry about, being upset in front of them and frustrated in front of them. And, is it going to affect them in the long run? And that's encouraging to know that your son didn't remember most of it. I often wonder, am I scarring them for life? I hope not.
and I would feel, and I felt the same way, because there was a few months there that I was, I won't say checked out, but I did move back in with my mom, and I had that support. But it was a lot of crying, and a lot of just not really accepting what was going on and stuff. And so, other people picked up the slack a little, but also, again, I was the same on my weekends with him. It was us doing our thing. And I tried to keep him entertained. But still, when I talk to him about it now, he's like, I remember, he remembers very little. So that's good. So that makes me feel a little better too,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
because, if that is something to consider, if moving, or if doing anything like that helps your financial situation, so that you can feel like you can do move into something else. Obviously, working a full-time job and then coming up with other jobs when you have the girls, is difficult. Do you have family near you?
Yes, relatively near. And I have a good support system. I am very thankful for that. Friends, family, my girls' friends, parents who help with drop offs and pickups and so many things I can't even count.
Right.
So many favors I owe. But going back to the other jobs, I kept some of my part time work, so I am working. I'm working three part time jobs basically on top
Wow.
of my full time job,
Oh,
and I'm
goodness.
still not,
Struggling.
yeah, I'm still not, I mean, I'm paying the bills, but that's it.
Sure.
I'm
Right.
still, and you know, one of my motivations for going back to this full-time job was, you know, maybe I could take my girls on a real vacation because it's been a really long time and I feel like they deserve it and would love to do that with them and make some
Absolutely.
memories that hopefully they'll remember. Um, but I don't know if I could do it. I don't
Yeah.
know if I'll be able to. So it's just so frustrating to be in this situation. And I know you said like you're not innocent. You know, we all play a role, but it's hard not to feel like I was put in this situation, you know?
No, of course. And especially since you were willing to work at it and he wasn't. I mean, the fact of the matter is that, yes, we all play a part, but we can all, work on fixing it if the will is there. If the will is there. And unfortunately, as much as he seems to be unhappy or was unhappy about his own financial situation, he didn't really think about that beforehand and be like, you know what, we're a unit, we're a
Right.
family, we are not surviving, we're thriving together. Let's try and continue to make this work.
Right. Right.
So I don't pretend to know how the relationship is with this other person, but maybe she's picking up some of the slack for him. To you just never know.
Right. She definitely seems like a doer. She definitely seems like you know, like she was decorating, like apparently she was a former interior designer and she was like buying stuff for his house, decorating his house for him. So, you know, it does seem like she's definitely doing a lot for him to help
Right.
him. So,
Right. So he's finding that support, whether it's financial or otherwise. It's helping make his life easier,
yes.
even though that should all then also inspire him to then see his children, because then if he's
Yes.
saying, I don't have the time or I can't do it all, well, you have somebody helping you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I have nobody.
Right.
Not that I have nobody. I have support.
No, sure.
But it's
Yes.
not the
I mean,
same as having
a
someone,
partner.
a partner. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I miss that, you know. I just don't.
A partner that will help you, give you some support.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I miss that. I really do. Um, and, you know, I've thought about this a lot over the last 2 years. Why, why have I shed so many tears over this man that I don't even want to be with, you know? And I think it's because I'm mourning the loss of the family that I thought we were building, that the the partnership I thought we were going to have, you know, that's what I'm sad about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that is a realization that many of us probably get to at some point, which is it wasn't about him. It was
Right.
about the dream that you created around him. It was
Right.
what you basically what you thought he would be, what you put into him, what you felt this man is going to be, this, that, and the other. Not that maybe he was at some point or another, but we believed this about them. And then when it doesn't happen, it's heartbreaking for
Right.
us. And yes, I mean, you had two children. The plan, obviously, is always we have children, we have a family, we have children, we grow, we, work as a partnership, all of this together. It makes it obviously very hard when that whole falls apart and then it's all left on your shoulders. You mourn what you envisioned your life was going to be, not so much the person,
Right.
just what them being there represented in your life. And it sounds like you've gotten to that point, which is good. You don't make yourself feel bad that it was him. It wasn't really him. When you think long and hard, it wasn't really him. It could have
Right.
been anybody. It was just my family. My family unit is what I'm mourning. The
Mm-hmm.
family unit that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that this day and age, prices and things how they are, it makes it so much harder to deal with being a single parent, taking care of a lot of this stuff. Even with child support, it still makes it very difficult. I know people love to say, oh, but you have child support. And if you actually did the math and wrote down all the hours that you're with your children, everything that they need, everything that they consume, the roof over the head, the car that you drive, the gas to get them here and there, and you divide that up, it's pennies on the dollar.
It's pennies. It literally is. And all their extra expenses that you end up, like pay for all of their school costs. So any clothing, school supplies, field trips, T-shirts, everything, the little holiday shop, the book fair, you pay, the photos, you pay for all of that, and it adds up.
Yeah.
Adds up over the year. I used to jokingly say, I had a cat, a senior cat who was kind of had some medical issues. And I used to joke right in the beginning of the divorce that half my child support went to the cat. But it really did. I mean, like it was almost half of my monthly
Wow.
check went to
Right.
his special medicated food and his pills and this, that, and the other thing. So it's so really, I mean,
Right.
and then you have
Right.
what, $150, $200 left for the kids,
Right.
for a month. Crazy.
And there are women out there that might do this, but to sit there and be like, okay, you paid your child support, but then this is extra, this is extra, this is extra. And my goodness, I'm sure that the fight to have to deal with getting that is sometimes not even worth it.
Oh no, and he shut that down real quick. He said that's all included. It's all included. It's all included. It's all included. I'm still not so sure about that, but I've given up the fight. It is what it is.
Right. Well, I mean, in your divorce papers, would it say? I know that for mine, it kind of said a couple things.
Some of it is vague, like school supplies. Very vague. Very vague. It's not specific in there.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and then obviously to get it nice and clear, that just costs more money.
Right. Which we don't have. Right.
Exactly. Right. So, it's kind of putting you over a barrel. So what would you hope could happen next for you? Obviously, you want to figure out what's next, but what would be the what's next for you? What do you feel? What would you wish would be the what's next for you?
I wish I could move past my anger and resentment towards him, which I'm working on. I don't know if that includes me having to forgive him. I don't know. I'm still working through that in counseling, but I would like to get to a place where I don't feel any more anger and resentment. I wish I could be in a place where I'm at least content with my life in terms of job and kids and the schedule that I've been dealt. I'm not going to say even happy with that because, I mean, you have to work. Not gonna find a job you love. If I could go back to the jobs I was doing, that would be 10 times better, but I don't know if that's a reality. And I really wish I could find a partner, someone who I could share the rest of my life with. Right now, that's not the priority. The other two are, because I feel like that needs to come first. And hopefully someday that person's out there for me. I don't know.
Right. Well, I mean, the resentment definitely is something to work through just so that you're in a good mental space to bring in another relationship, because you don't want the lingering feelings you might have for the ex to subconsciously affect a new relationship, right?
Yeah.
That would be good. But I'm glad that you are definitely in therapy and counseling, because I did many years of therapy and it helped a lot. So that is very good. You had mentioned that he had brought down your self-esteem a lot. Has that been rebuilt?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've...
Yes, that is the first thing I tackled in counseling. Before I even thought about the idea of dating, that was number one. After the years of being, my ex was a man of very few words. And when he did speak, it was often to criticize and put me down and judge. And then often use sarcasm or humor to cover it up as, oh, I was, I was just teasing you. I was just joking. But it was constant. It was all the time. And just the disrespect. And I just started to feel so alone and so invisible and so small and so insignificant. It wasn't like outright criticizing my looks or, saying mean derogatory things to me. It was the wearing down. It was the slow wearing down over time. And so the first thing I tackled in counseling was rebuilding my self-esteem. And I really got to, and I still feel in a place where I know my worth. I know what I have to offer the world. I know what I deserve in return. And I won't settle for less. So, a lot of people say, well, that's why I haven't found anybody, because you have such high standards. But I'm like, well, are they too high? Is it ever going to happen?
Right. No, I think that's great, and I totally disagree. That's the exact point of having your self-esteem. So you see the red flags, so you know exactly what you want. It will take longer, of course, because if you were just like, hey, anybody that, is going to sit next to me on the couch and watch a movie and whatever, and well, I mean, those will be easy to find.
Right.
But it's, it's more than that. And as long as you know that, you're going to push for it, and you'll be better off, because you don't want to be in the situation that you were again.
Right.
So if it takes a little longer to get the quality person that deserves to be with you, another quality person, it's worth doing. I was told that a couple times myself. You're so picky. Why are you asking him so many questions? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to ask all the questions that I need to ask. And then if I don't like it and I see one little tiny, it's not even red flag yet, it's a little pink, I'm out of there, because I definitely don't want to do that again. So I disagree on that. I don't think that it can be too much. You know what's right for you.
Yeah.
Especially if you've done the work, and that's what matters. So, well, I know you still have a way to go, but you're closer than you were a couple years ago.
Yeah, that is
true. What would you tell the you from 2 years ago now? What advice would you give her?
That's a good question. Worry a lot less about what he's doing. Focus more on you. That it's gonna be a tough road and you're gonna falter at times, and that's okay. Because I definitely beat myself up a lot about, why am I still harboring on this? Why did I snap at the kids? Why did I let the kids see me cry? I get down on myself for allowing these things to happen, but
it's part of the process.
It is part of the process. Right. And I had a friend who, I think our friendship is seeing its end. I think it was, we were friends for a reason at a certain time, but we're just not connecting now. She said something to me to the effect of, well, it's been almost 2 years. You got to stop doing this to yourself. I'm like, but then I go to counseling, and, she's telling me, for the number of years you were together, it usually takes you about half that number of years to truly get over someone.
I have absolutely heard that, and I do repeat that exactly. So you're moving at, it's not like it happens like a flip of the switch. It doesn't.
Right.
And I understand what you're saying. In my podcast, it started off as me reading journal entries. That I kept the journal from when I got separated, and the podcast was inspired by those journal entries. And sometimes I read it now and I'm embarrassed, because it was such a roller coaster. And I'm like, why am I still crying for him? Why am I still doing this? The last episode, or the last journal entry, I was saying, I need to stop talking to him. I need to put boundaries. And then the next time I'm over here, well, I talked to him. And so I'm like, so
right.
It is a process. It is an
Right.
absolute process. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. You're going to do it well. And then you're going to take 2 steps back. It is. It
Yeah.
is absolutely like that. So
Yeah.
it's nothing to beat yourself up about. And honestly, the podcast has given me some more grace. Like I've been like, wow, I have to recognize when I don't want to read another entry because I'm like, I know it's going to say the same darn thing. I'm like a broken record. Here I go again. I'm sure I'm going to say, well, I missed him today and I want, so I have to be like, that was part of the process. I made it to the other side. And when you make it to the other side, you're going to realize that was part of the process. That had to happen to get me here. And every time it happened, I did get a little stronger. And by the time this is over, hopefully not 6 years, but still,
I hope not.
You will, you've already seen what you're worth, what your value is, but you're going to recognize how strong you were and how amazing it is. This is a really difficult thing to go through. Besides death, this is like one of the really biggest painful things and difficult things in your life. And, when you're at the end of it, you're like, I'm badass,
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I hope for you.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that moment where I can look back at it and say, I did all that. I survived all of that, and I'm better off for it.
Absolutely. And you will. You will. I believe that you will. So I want to thank you for sharing. I really appreciate it.
It was good for me to share, and I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So is there anything else that we maybe didn't bring up that you want to touch on, that you want to?
I guess just like you were saying that, this is a process and it's all these ups and downs and forward and backward is normal. Like there's times where I doubt it too, but for others who are going through it and doubting it, like we're all going through it. We've all either been through it or going through it. And it's not something you can get over quickly, and that's okay.
That's okay. And give yourself grace.
Yeah.
Give yourself grace. Don't beat yourself up about, am I showing emotion? Am I being too emotional? It's part of the process, and you're allowed. This is hard, so you're allowed.
Thank you.
Well, thank you again for sharing.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Well, I hope that you found that conversation helpful. Maybe you could relate to some of Jessica's story. And I want to thank Jessica for sharing with us. If you would like to share your own chapter checkup, please reach out to me on Instagram. And don't forget to download your copy of the chapter checklist. Well, that's going to be it for this episode. If you'd like to reach out to me, you can always find me on Instagram at heavy_pages_podcast. And if you found this episode interesting, please consider clicking on that 5-star rating and following so you are notified when the next episode drops. As always, thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes the pages of life can be heavy, but you don't have to turn them alone.